Hi, I'm Zach Singerman, the founder of Gen Z Jews Fighting Anti-Semitism, and welcome to the Gen Z Jews Learning from Leaders series, where I interview national leaders on the topics of anti-Semitism, Israel, and leadership. Today, our guest is author Liza Wiemer. She's the author of adult nonfiction books and young adult books, Hello and The Assignment. Miss Wiemer, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much, Zach, for having me. I am just so impressed that you're doing this and appreciate being your guest.
Thank you. So, The Assignment is getting a lot of buzz today. To give an overview, this book was inspired by a real-life incident where high school students were given an assignment to defend the final solution. Can you explain the assignment and how you got connected? Because there's definitely a little bit of fate involved.
Yes, you're absolutely right. It's an extraordinary story how I came to write this novel. And for the sake of brevity, I'm going to direct your listeners to my website, lizawiemer.com. And there's a button that says the story behind the assignment. Click on that link and you'll get the amazing details. But in a nutshell, in April of 2017, I was in Oswego, New York. I was invited to come and speak in the area by a library media specialist in the Syracuse area. And 10 months before, we had set this up, and I was in Oswego to talk at an independent bookstore. I arrived super early, 5 hours early, because the weather was really bad. It was pouring rain, and I planned to spend my entire afternoon in a coffee shop. Unfortunately, the coffee shop was closed. I ended up at a grocery store, but could not get out of the car because the parking lot was flooded, and I was wearing knit boots, and I knew if I stepped out, I would end up having soaking wet feet for 5 hours. So instead, I just sat in the car, I opened up Facebook, and on my feed, I saw New York high school students refuse to do assignment, asking them to advocate for the Holocaust. So that caught my attention, and I clicked on the link, and in the first line, it said that the assignment was given in Oswego, New York. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm in Oswego right now while this is going on. And I read more and more information about the two brave teens who spoke up against this assignment, Archer Shurtleff and Jordan April. Their teacher gave them a position paper, and it was to either defend exterminating Jews or sterilize Jews, put them in work camps or ghettos. That was what their position had to be. And so these two brave teens said, this is morally wrong. This is reprehensible. And they received a lot of pushback. And so that's what the article was about. I started reading more and more about them. I saw their photographs, and I kept thinking, I got to figure out a way to meet these brave teens. Well, I wasn't going to the high school. I was going to the bookstore, and I was still trying to figure out what could I do. I devised a plan to purchase copies of my book and ask the bookstore owner to send copies of the book and a note from me to them. Lo and behold, we didn't need it because I took 4 steps into the bookstore, looked up, and there was one of the teens, Jordan April. And I went, oh my goodness, it's the world famous Jordan. And she looked at me and she said, how do you know who I am? And I said, let me show you my phone. And so I showed her that I had been reading up about, the assignment and the fact that she and Archer had spoken up. And I thought, wow, this is incredible. And that's what kind of launched this journey for me to write this novel. So there you go.
And why'd you decide to write it as a young adult book and not like a normal adult book?
Well, so one of the things that I'm really proud of is the fact that this is a book that's really for, anyone from the age of 12 to 120. I have heard from people in their 90s who have read this. I've heard from 11-year-olds actually who've read it and who've said that this has had a profound impact on them. For me, I was shocked that an assignment like this could be given in our schools. And I thought initially, when I found out about this Oswego assignment, that it was unique. What I have found out, however, is that it's not unique at all. Assignments like this are being given in schools across our country on an almost daily basis. And these are assignments that are connected to the Holocaust. For example, there was an assignment given in an AP World History class in California, and the students were asked to pretend that they were Nazis and recreate the 1932 Reichstag election and support that position. And that was just one assignment. Another assignment I've heard about was, and these assignments, by the way, are not just like, oh, here and there. I'm hearing about them over and over again. Another assignment was where students had to write down a percentage of blame for the Holocaust. And one of those sections was the Jews who did not resist. And these students had to put down what percent out of 100% Jews were responsible for what happened to them. And that's an assignment that I've seen over and over again. So if we, if this book wasn't out there for young adults, for me, this is a way of saying, pay attention. This isn't okay. We're not necessarily going to, always have someone that is the marginalized group that is targeted by these kinds of assignments. For example, I've seen assignments where students are asked to recreate slave auctions, or the Underground Railroad, or the Trail of Tears. There is no way to capture these experiences. And if we don't empower your generation to speak up and say that this is wrong, then these assignments are going to continue. And so I feel like it's so important to get this message out and to have your generation feel empowered to speak up, even if, you yourself is not the one that is being targeted by that assignment.
Last year, a study found that nearly 63% of millennials and Gen Z really didn't know the facts about the Holocaust or that it even happened at all. Like, they didn't know names of concentration camps or that 6 million Jews died. So how could your book be used as a way to teach Gen Z today who didn't know about the Holocaust or who don't know about it?
With the rise in hate that we're seeing in our country, it is more critical than ever. We are reaching all-time highs of anti-Semitic incidences, and so much of it is a lack of knowledge. What makes the assignment unique is that it very much connects history to what is going on in society today. What I have found is that there are students that love history. There are students that don't necessarily love history, but they'll work hard at it because they want a great grade. And then there are the students who don't care whatsoever. But this is something we all need to know about, because history very much connects to how things transpire in society today. And so I think when a student picks up the assignment, they're going to find that it's very relatable and very understandable, not just to speaking out against anti-Semitism, but all forms of bigotry, hatred, and injustice. And speaking up is really challenging. It's a really difficult thing. But this gives some very clear guidance on how to do that and how to feel empowered and not feel so alone in the process. I think that, every reader will find someone in this book to relate to. And I think that's a critical part of, reading any kind of book that has, a deeper meaning to it. So, I just, we're seeing that, there was a report that just came out a few days ago that 1 out of 3 college students, Jewish college students, have experienced an act of anti-Semitism. To me, this is absolutely horrifying. Every single person that is on a college campus should feel like it's a safe environment. And this is saying to me that people are feeling emboldened to say some really horrible and nasty things. And if your generation doesn't speak up and say, stop, this is wrong, it's going to continue. We need our college campuses to, partner, with, student organizations and educate. And so much of it just shows that when there's a lack of knowledge and a lack of understanding about what transpired in the past, we see those situations coming up again.
Mm-hmm. Now, this book is about real-life bravery by 2 high school students that spoke up against their teacher and their administration. What advice do you have for Gen Z to stand up for what's right today?
I think it's critical to understand, first and foremost, that it is difficult and that it's a muscle. We need to practice speaking up when we see an injustice. And that could be bullying, it could be, someone making a racial slur, it could be an anti-Semitic comment, it could be even something, that seems okay, like when a teacher gives an assignment within the classroom and, you're dealing with an authority, you think, oh, this should be okay, right? They're an authority, but you have to trust yourself. And so first and foremost, we have to understand, why is it so difficult? For the vast majority of us, we have those natural instincts. There's the fight, flight, and freeze instinct. When we hear something, we might freeze, or we might just like, oh, gotta get away from that. Or we might, come back and we're like, sure. But most likely, people remain silent because they themselves don't want to be targeted. Mm-hmm. Like if I say something, that person might turn around and say, try to hurt me. Uh-huh. But, the difference between being an animal, who just acts on instinct versus us human beings is that we have the ability to think. We need to report these incidences. We need to speak up. We need to get allies. And if you're a high school student, hearing this right now, my suggestion is have a conversation with some of your friends or, a relative or a neighbor and say, look, we all need allies. If I'm ever in a situation, will you be my ally and support me in this? Or can I turn to you? So I find that what makes things difficult for students is that they feel all alone. And when you have a partner to be able to say, look, this just happened, will you go with me, to talk to the teacher or the principal, or, will you go with me to talk to that other student? That's empowering. So I think the key is to make sure that you aren't afraid to seek support and to speak up and to create a safe and support system. But whatever you do, do not remain silent, because silence only helps those who are doing the tormenting not those who have been tormented. And that's a rough translation of something that Elie Wiesel, Holocaust survivor and Nobel Peace Prize winner, had said.
And is there anything else you'd like to say to Gen Z?
You are our future, and we are seeing a tremendous amount of hate on the internet. And there is a sense of being anonymous online, to say things and to do things that are inappropriate and cruel. You need to think first and foremost, before you share information, how much of this is true. And we know in the past that there was a tremendous amount of propaganda that in many ways, got people to support situations that were absolutely horrible. The Holocaust never would have happened if millions and millions of people were not complacent and didn't, turn their backs to the Jewish people. In turn, we're seeing things on the internet. Don't believe that everything is true. Do your research. Don't share information if you do not know if it is indeed correct. So do your research and be an ally. And when it means being an ally, that doesn't mean just for one particular group. Any kind of hatred, any kind of cruelty is damaging to this world. So each one of us has the ability to be a light for goodness, or someone that causes harm. And so my hope to all of you is that you're lights and that you will make a difference for others. And I just wanted to say that I really hope that people will pick up the assignment, read it. Would love to hear from the readers. I always welcome questions, and I just really appreciate your time, Zach, to be a guest on your YouTube channel station.
Well, thank you, Ms. Wiemer, for coming on today. It was great having you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.